Councillors, we will reconvene please at 10:38.
Councillors, presented on the screens is a mayoral minute that I now move formally and will not require a seconder. Thank you. As a further consideration of a request, as a request from the Thompson Business Trust with respect to the pending development known as the Fringe Camp for consideration of water connection and development application fees. I now introduce this mayoral minute for councillors' consideration of its intention. Happy for any vehicle to be used, and if a ongoing deferral is required, then we can resolve to do that. However, we did receive formally the deputation at the last meeting with an indication, with a response given that we give an indication of this meeting. So hence why I'm introducing it today. Happy to hear any and all suggestions of what percentage reduction, if that is the intent of council, and council has no wishes to declare no reduction, then that can be put there right now.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to say that after listening to Cheryl's deputation last month and the amount of work that she has done developing different businesses in the town, from the hostel, cafe, base camp, and she really has proven that she will get things finished. Also, the fact that she employs 30 people, and that the water connection out there will also benefit other property owners along that line. I'm happy to suggest that we reduce that water connection by 100%.
Development application fees?
Probably 50.
150. We'll discuss this before we amend the resolution. Councillor Peoples.
Mr. Mayor, I think from past actions we've taken, I think we've given developers, I think, about a 50%, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Brett, we've given 50% in development application fees to support their developments. I think they're giving 100% for total water connection. I won't be agreeing with that. At this stage, I'd be happy to give 50% on the development application fee, and that's what we've done in the past, Brett.
That's what
we've done with Thornton Hogan. I think we've got to be very careful about precedent of, giving. We're talking 80,000 connection fee here. Fair bit of money, but happy to do what we've done in the past, which is a 50% reduction of the development application fee. That's where I'd sit, Mr. Mayor.
And the water at what?
I would have no reduction in the water.
All right, Councillor Gleeson.
Mr. Mayor, the water will help other residents in the long term. For figures' sake, and because we've had a 50% reduction on development and planning before, I would go for a 50% reduction in both.
50% in both?
But definitely not 100.
Right. Councillor Arthur.
Mr. Mayor, I'd be comfortable with the 50% reduction in the development application fees based on precedents, and I think it's a good thing to do for the development in question, especially with the job creation component of that. Regarding the water connection, I'd be comfortable with a 25% waiving of the fee, sorry. May possibly be persuaded up to 50%, but I'd be comfortable with 25. Again, because hopefully it provides water and support to some of the property owners out that way, and seems to be a crucial part of the development. Yeah, at this stage, I'd be happy with 25% off the water and 50 off the development application fee.
Councillor Plum?
Yes, I'm probably quite happy with 50% of the development application fees and 50% of water.
50% of the water. Councillors, you have unanimously suggested a waiving 50% of the DA fees. Perhaps we can insert that into the resolution. I have arranged from 0 to 100%. With certainly favouring 50% or less.
So, yeah, Mr. Mayor, the councillors had indicated between 25 and 50 be happy with the third reduction.
33% reduction.
Some way towards middle ground, and
I like the two councillors who are on the extremes of this first. Councillor, you're not going to get 100%, sorry.
I would,
I think.
I prefer to come to 50.
Councillor Peoples, I reckon I know what you're going to say, but give me a go anyway.
I'm where I was before. Mr.
Same,
Mayor.
all right. I'm comfortable with the third myself. Councillor Plum? 50 still?
Yeah.
Dan?
I would extend to a third, Mr. Mayor.
Tom? You were 50 before. A third at 50.
I'll go third.
That'll be enough. 33%. Councillors, these are two resolutions, really. Given that I don't think there's consensus, we should separate them. To all our councillors who have a set opinion. So I'll separate them, please. We'll do whichever one you want first, Taylor. 2 mayoral minutes. So that we can vote independently on each resolution. Read each one differently. So I won't call for a seconder. I can. So I'll seconder for that now, please. Councillor Arthur. Debate. There being none, I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour? Against? I'll call the vote again, please. Those in favour? Against? 5-1. Carried. Councillor Peoples? Yes. Councillor Peoples dissenting or against? The second one now will be a reduction of 50% of the development application fee for the development known as the Fringe Camp to the Thompson Business Trust. We'll tidy that up. We know what it is. I move, seconded Councillor Gleeson. Those in favour? 6-0. I apologise, Harley, but I was aware that a councillor was, there were two different things, and a councillor was very clearly in favour of one who would have been disadvantageous to that councillor if I had asked him to vote on the two together. 3-3-1. Somebody move we receive the acting CEO's report. Councillor Gleeson, Councillor Plum. Those in favour, carried 6-0.
Leave through here, please. Mr. Mayor, this, formality so that all councillors' registers of interest have been received and uploaded. Met our requirements, or met your requirements for the 11th of November. Those on the website. Our first two QUT students have arrived. One based at GBA and one based at Council. The Mayor and I will be, well, the Mayor will be signing the official MOU in Brisbane next Friday.
We ratified about 3 months ago. Haven't had a chance to physically align our schedules to get it signed.
That will be with the Vice Chancellor. QUT. The audit.
I'm happy to discuss the audit.
With our pest and weeds grant, we missed out on that. When we applied for 100% funding. They came back to us and said, council has to put a contribution in. So we put in an in-kind, admin contribution, but they actually wanted cash for us doing some of the work.
Councillors, I'm quite good. I'm disappointed to miss out, but I wouldn't have compromised. So we don't have the money to be bringing it back up the federal government's feral pest and weeds initiatives. They've got hundreds of billions of dollars. We've got nothing. So yeah, we miss out because we're not putting cash into it. That's part of it. But it's not a council asset. It would have been good if we could have got those things done. It would have helped agriculture, but yeah, it's not.
As we flagged with councillors previously, we met with DNR about water licences. So we're progressing that. That's water licences for our communities. Morgan and I have worked with DNR to see how we can get those allocations increased. We'll continue that process. I met with Chris Ryan, who's project coordinating some of our projects, so he gave me an update. And I apologise if I steal some of the DM's thunder here, but the Aramac amenities commencing in the next week. They'll be on site for 8 days. Hopefully, will be installed well before Christmas. The Alpha Community Services Building, the expected completion date is the 9th of December. Carnivorosaurus, there are some delays. That one. Chris didn't have an up-to-date time frame for that. The Barkey Rec Park amenities, the completion date is the 18th of December. The NBN application for Alpha went in yesterday. And I'm assuming the Aramac one went in as well yesterday.
It's been submitted by QCN.
Yes, so for Alpha, council had to lodge the application, whereas for Aramac it's being done by QCN Fibre. But we gave the letter of support on Monday.
There's a slight difference there, council, is in the immediacy of the outcome. The QCN Fibre is to provide fibre optic capacity to the community, if I'm not mistaken, and then a subsequent decision or funding will be required to then disseminate fibre within the community. They have currently no access to fibre, whereas Alpha has access to fibre, as in that there is a fibre line there, it's just not tapped into. So the NBN our application with our partners at NBN is to distribute existing fibre. So Aramac's at part 1 of a 2-step process, Alpha's at applying for part 2 of that 2-step process. So it wouldn't have been feasible, not QCN's go anyway, QCN provides fibre, not connectivity, NBN provides connectivity. It would not have been feasible to try and do phases 1 and 2 in this round. There just simply wouldn't have been enough money distributed, and it would have meant that the Aramac grant would have been knocked back, which I'm not disclosing whether it will or will not be, but to provide access to the fibre is a monumental step and an extremely expensive one that's a lot dearer than it will be to actually then subsequently pick up a distribution of that around the township. So they are not, you can't compare, they're not apples with apples, they're bananas with strawberries. They're totally different in their intent. In their intended outcomes are very different. Both of which would be a major gain for our communities if they come forward, as we discussed at the last meeting. Sorry,
Otherwise, it's just a list of all the meetings I've attended.
Questions?
Through you, Mr Mayor, the 3 apprenticeships, have we identified what apprenticeships and where?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, there's one in Alpha, Barkey and Aramac. We've got a mechanic in Alpha, mechanic here, and a plumber in Aramac.
Mr Mayor, can I just ask the CEO about the council bus, what was resolved?
Nothing's been resolved, has it?
No, Mr Mayor. So we met with the state school and listened to their opinion. I then spoke to the president of Central West Rugby League, and he indicated that the rugby league bus was no longer going to be park ordered, but that was a verbal discussion. I don't know if that's the case. So, and I think their meeting is this week.
Yes, Central West Rugby League's this weekend.
So I haven't taken any further because I'll wait till after they have their meeting this weekend. No doubt it will be discussed there. But in the meantime, we haven't ordered a new bus, we haven't sold the old bus. We'll just on board orders as normal.
Further questions?
I have one more, Mr Mayor. Regarding our water licences, my understanding is across the board, Barcaldine residents or ratepayers received a letter about increased water usages in the 4 months from June.
Yeah, I had a discussion of this yesterday, but I'll have to help you with the answer.
Does that track us to go over allocation for the town?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the total was, but there's certainly individual premises that we used excess water for the last year, so I would assume that yes, but without seeing the total from those meter readings, I'd need to confirm that. But, so Aramac's also read the meters, but just remember this has been over winter. So really the next one will be a better indication. The 6 monthly read will be the one that gives you that. There's been a major increase.
Through you, Mr Mayor, hopefully we have some seasonal indication if the same period over the last 4 years we've
Well,
increased usage by 20%. I think our system's going to struggle.
We only, we wouldn't have 40 use for Aramac.
No, but I mean, because at this stage I'm only talking to the letter that Buck Alden received.
so Mr Mayor, we haven't been reading quarterly. So we've only read once a year, read the meters, so we don't have that breakdown. So this is like, been many years since we've read. I think it was only 6 monthly anyway, previously, and then council at a meeting decided that it would be annually. They changed the methodology many ago, it was maybe 8 years ago, changed from 6 monthly readings to annual readings. So we don't have that data to do comparisons.
But Mr Mayor, surely if we've used 50% of our allocation in 4 months, that would indicate that.
That's the bigger one. Yeah, so I spoke with Rick about this last week. It would be what we need is when we can get access to more easily, because at the moment they're manually read, is that right, Rick? The town water usage, like the water, not the individuals, but the town meter is being read manually.
Yeah.
As soon as we can get that, just part of our mooted upgrade for that facility, as soon as we get that real time and we get our signs installed, I'd like to be advising the community daily. Daily is ridiculously, weekly. But it could be daily.
Dashboard on the website.
Yeah, where our water usage, where our targeted water usage is and where we sit within that. And that was the whole public, so that we can be real time saying to people, you are using too much water. Whereas water consumption is at is 5%, whatever, over our target, because that educates them straight away rather than waiting for something to be read retrospectively, which proves nothing.
But I can provide councillors with the meter readings, so for the next meeting we can give you a comparison of how much water we of the ball meter readings. So
Yeah, Mr Mayor, it might be of interest, like for that 4 month period. Okay, from my understanding, Buckhorn Town is over allocation from previous years.
Yeah.
And if we're tracking that way already, and unless we can get some good, decent, widespread rain, if it continues over summer, and with our intention to off-take some water for our rec park, might put some of our infrastructure under some stress.
Mr Mayor, I think that this information is required for the community consultations.
Which
Because
Which information?
how we're travelling with our water and what.
Well, they all know. They were written to, weren't they? Isn't it?
yeah, I think they're asking the overall number for the town rather
Right.
than each individual.
A few people have come to me and spoke to me about the water, and they're coming to the community to. So we're going to need to know the answers as to how we're travelling and how we're going to. That's all. I just think we need the answers to answer to them.
And
Possibly.
for example, Mr Mayor, like my property at U Street, I get a letter for rent, but I only used 127 kilolitres.
Yeah. You're individual. Sorry, that's what I thought you meant. Council one was their individual usage.
No,
I think we can't
no.
give them more than they've already got. But if
Yes.
you mean town usage, yes.
Yeah, and we want to let them know how the town's travelling so they realise that
That's right.
they haven't got it.
Mr. Mayor,
Tom, Councillor Blaze.
is it an appropriate time for me to ask a question about we're discussing water? The water that comes out of the standpipe down at the sale yards, it is recorded to be coming out of the water. It is treated water that comes out of the water.
Well, not treated water, but it is our town water, is that correct?
It is town water that comes as, yeah. and it is being carted for watering streets. Is it appropriate time to be discussing? We're looking at metering water out of a bore when there's water down the creek. Just wondering. Sorry, I just want to bring that up because there's a few discussions about water, and it's quick and easy, and there's perfectly beautiful water coming out of the standpipe, and there's water down in the creek. Thank you.
Just ask Chief Engineer, is it legal to take the water out of the creek from the roadways?
Depends on where you take it from, but certain council has in the past taken it out of Wigan Creek. I've checked permanent conditions.
So to remove water out of a lake air catchment, there's got to be a
It's technically called construction purposes. You're doing a road job, it's construction. Same in the vertical.
You're saying
When you're using it for roadworks, you're using it for construction.
so you cannot.
Oh, I'm not saying
Well,
you
you-
can't, but it falls within licensing regulations because you're not just watering cattle out of it, which you can do without a permit. Construction is something that is regulated. Councillor Gleeson, you missed yesterday's discussion. Hopefully that can be negated very shortly with the sewage offtake. There will be provision at the storage located over the showgrounds. That will be the distribution point for the treated water. There'll be provision there for trucks, road crews will be filling with treated sewage water. So the better outcome again.
I just had to bring it up because we're discussing water and excess water, and it's all coming out of the one pump, one station. Thank you.
I'll follow that up.
Thank you.
Find out.
Further questions? So 332, we move that we receive the report. Councillor Plum, second Councillor Gleeson. Those in favour? Carried. Any questions or anything we need to be drawn to here that's not self-obvious? This correspondence from JJ Richards, was it transmitted to the community? It was. Yep. And that's just Alpha Jericho.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I think that was just a general mail out letter as well
Right.
from JJ's.
Okay. That wasn't targeted.
Right, Mr. Mayor, that was going to be one of my questions. Do we know of specific incidents?
Mr. Mayor, it's never happened in both our communities, like, it's never been reported to us all.
Right, good. Councillor Plum represented the Bart Calden Regional Council at the State School speech night. Thank you, Councillor.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, it was a very, well, I considered it a very lovely night. And big pats on the back to the principal, Carl Landers, and the school band that played. And, yeah, it was a nice night.
Councillors, I will be away for the St Joseph's Catholic Primary School in Brisbane for Rapid and QUT and a bunch of other meetings, so but everybody's invited there as per the invitation. Jericho is in our calendar, I know it is. Yeah, the 1st of December. Financial reports of somebody else, we want to talk about that, do we? No, if they use the same order as we do. Oh yeah, who's the audit office?
That no legal requirement by those, which is why they've been included in the agenda.
60s and better on Tuesday, the 8th of December. It is always a very, very, very good day, so I strongly encourage councillors to come along. Can anybody indicate now whether they'll be there and we can do some bulk RSVPs? Arthur, Plum, Rogers, Dillon, Gleeson.
Next Tuesday?
Eight.
The 8th of...
No.
Okay. Can somebody organise RSVP on behalf of 5 of us, and we'll check with Councillor Hanson. Stockouts, we'll discuss in our review later. Australian War Memorial.
Now, Mr Mayor, just advising that we've done that, Places of Pride, so all our memorials are on the website.
I wish we could spend that $3 million on the Claremont Alpha Road 10 jobs. That. There's 30 or 40 people out there at times working on that, but anyway. I know it's a matrix they use. Any further comments about any of this? Letter received from Australian Independent Meat Spread. Are you continuing to work through that?
So we're working with DNR to freehold that land. Identify sites there.
Good. And thank you, letter from the Alpha Jockey Club. Very good. 333, council meeting dates. Questions before we go to it? Any reasons why there's a date there that stands out as problematic? We may need to look at the October meeting depending on LGAQ. We can move them. We just set a schedule, and then if something needs to be tweaked, it can be. The quicker for councillors and staff we set these, the easier it is to correct our diaries. It's the 30th of June, a Wednesday.
Yes.
Yes.
Councillors,
Previous Wednesday.
what's that? Australian National Government Association.
Yeah, that's right.
What was the majority of that for? Why? Wouldn't drop in our budget in my board. Apparently I'm not going to be here the Wednesday before. Otherwise I would have said we'll move that budget adoption forward to the 23rd.
It doesn't have to be a Wednesday.
Yeah, I'm thinking there'd be lots of reasons why staff wouldn't want to be doing a budget adoption meeting on their last day of the financial year. We look at changing that to the Monday, the 8th. That means you'll get your general meeting papers on the Wednesday.
The budget would, councillors receive the budget 2 weeks prior to the budget.
Only the general meeting papers that you'd get Wednesday for a Monday meeting. Or do you meet in the middle and go Tuesday?
Yeah, Tuesday would be just a little bit better, I think.
Councillors, I suppose, can have a broader discussion about, so the meeting's always been the third Wednesday of the month. no reason for that. It's a tradition.
Yep.
But it's better day or so with the council and whatever.
So if we were to go the third Wednesday in June and then just have a special meeting.
You go the third Wednesday in June, apparently the mayors usually go to the Australian Local Government Association conference. That's when that is.
Third Wednesday will be the 16th.
Oh,
Third Wednesday is the 16th. It's actually 5 Wednesdays.
well, we've already started budget planning, so bring the budget adoption forward for the 16th.
Okay with that?
Done?
Just another query there, 27th of January, the 26th, is there a public comment? On
The
Tuesday?
6th is.
On
Yes.
Tuesday? We'll be meeting on Wednesday.
Sorry.
We'll be meeting on the Wednesday.
Yep.
Not public holiday.
Yeah, well, that's also not the third Wednesday of the month, obviously. It's just that it's going to be very difficult to get agendas together when the staff don't come back to work until the 11th. Do they? Is that right?
Well, some of the 11th, some of the 4th, some of the 11th.
Don't put much in it.
Simple. Have you seen the size of them? They're getting bigger. 27th or the 20th. I know your events coordinator probably suggests the 20th would be better because if someone's got to arrange to take ambassadors around or back to flights or whatever, it limits as in councillors or senior staff. CEO, Hayley, is it possible to get an agenda out for a meeting on the 20th?
Don't worry about it.
I know it won't worry Hayley. Hayley's the one experienced in doing them now. Is given.
Oh, there'll be pressure, but I think
There's always pressure.
that's what I mean. There'll be pressure, but they'll be able to do it. As you said, January is usually the quietest report month, so
Well, if we go the 20th, we'll have a budget meeting on the 19th. And corporate plan, yes. Corporate plan / budget. Right, 17th February. Yep. All right, we're all happy with that? Really, you've got to wait about the first 6 months. Something in the next year's calendar comes up to grab us in the back 6 months, we can move one of them around, but I don't like moving them too close to the meeting date. Sends a bad message.
The only, I presume the office show is.
That'll be right, yeah. When's the
Market
back
show, 20th of June,
It doesn't matter.
20th of June.
16th of June.
Well, I mean, no argument out of Councillor Plum that week, eh?
Wednesday says, and
Is everyone comfortable that Wednesday's still the day to meet?
Yes. I mean,
Tom?
It doesn't particularly worry me, put the date in and I'll work around it.
All right, Becky?
Yeah.
Dean?
Mr Mayor, I'm fine with the dates, and I can appreciate the logistics around video recording and that, but I would like to see us be able to go to other communities. I know the difficulties, there's probably considerable more costing with travel and time for our officers as well.
The travel is huge,
Yeah.
especially, yeah. I definitely think the first 6 months of next year, we stay here. We want to review that, we can just change the July to December's. We can pick one date, we can put the four of them six in other communities. I've done the travel, it's like really tough on staff when you finish a meeting at 5:30 in Muttaburra and they've got to drive back to Alpha or finish in Alpha and
I
they've got to
appreciate
drive
that,
back
Mr.
to Alpha.
Mayor. I just had something in the back of my head that other than Councillor Peoples, we all reside in Barcaldine, and the last 8 months we, for a myriad of reasons, have probably not been able to get out to our other communities, whereas we know the ins and outs of Barcaldine town itself.
That's, and myself, Councillor Arthur, that reside at Barcaldine. But yeah, that was, sorry.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. I think I did say the majority.
Yeah, so I agree. It's a really good point to raise. We do need council to get out into the communities. Very one obvious reason why that doesn't happen this year, because the community hasn't done anything. But one problem with taking council meetings there is that's an easy thing to say, oh, we've been to Alpha, we've been to Muttaburra. It's locked in the boardroom from 8 till 5, and then we all get in cars and drive. Like, physically, that's what happens. It's not a negative reflection, but the public don't see us, we don't. Like, we're better off doing our own thing and doing another forum, perhaps at the start of, middle of the year, or there's better ways to engage, because all we do is turn up with a fleet of about 7 white Prados, jump in and drive home. We just don't get the different. One thing that does happen very occasionally is there might be a deputation can be received from somebody who may not be able to travel or need to travel to Barcaldine to formally deputise to us. But I still think we can arrange a schedule around that to allow for that, even if we were to formally just take councillors to do the Tuesday before a general meeting, let's go to Muttaburra, this time go to Alpha next time. We don't need to cart 8 staff with us to do it. Like 2 cars and we can all go over there, everyone is available. It's not a statutory meeting, so if someone's busy and can't make it, we can just pick a different community to be in the day before each meeting or the Monday before each meeting and formally receive deputations and have whichever district manager it is take notes for us. And then, so I think there's ways that we could develop community involvement because these things don't do it. The money I saw wasted on them in the last 4 years, or no return on those communities. And it's not a figure that people pay apart from fuel, but you've just got your whole senior workforce spending hours in a car when they should be, if they weren't in this boardroom, they'd be in the offices working. It doesn't help Damien and Paul who have to do it each meeting, I agree with that, but apart from the 2 meetings that they hosted, they always, Jericho or Muttaburra, you've got to drive to both of you anyway, so. Anyway, I'll go back to the communities. It doesn't worry me. It's just, it does worry me, but it wouldn't offend me if we decided. I just don't see them as an efficient engagement methodology.
Mr. Mayor, could that be a question that goes to these community?
Sorry?
Ask them to go to these community forums to ask them, would they like to see more, or would they like to come to a community forum twice a year?
Yeah.
We have, Mr. Mayor, a resolution of council that we have 2 community forums each year for each community.
We only do 1.
Mr. Mayor, just back to the point that Councillor Arthur's raised. If you did want to have 1 meeting a year in each community, the engagement that we've had in the past has been near on nil. So you would have to change something where we all went and stayed Tuesday night or something like that if you wanted to create some more involvement in those communities, because how we've been doing it there's been very little engagement, so I totally agree with what you've said there. So do we just leave it with our community forums and do the council meetings here, so
Well, I am cognizant of the point that's made about people who may genuinely wish to deputise to council.
Yeah.
So what I can give you an undertaking to do is develop a schedule, now that we hand in our ordinary meetings, to receive deputations in a community before each one of them. Bring that to the next meeting so that we can publicise that as well. So, which answers both points. We could do a deputation from, say, 3 until 6, allow for people who are at work or after school or whatever, each. And so that could be one form of community engagement, and then we do the community engagement like we're about to commence. So that covers both elements, and so we might say January, we've received formal deputations in Barcaldine. February, we might go Munaburra. March, we might go Aramac. I'll look at the calendar to align it, but I'm just giving you a rough idea. We might just go, before each one of every meeting, we'll receive a deputation in the first half of the year. We'll go to a town to receive deputations, or just people who want to talk to us, and we'll do a consultation where we take information to them at the back half of the year. Is that a useful compromise? Not compromise, but a strategy. And those deputations would not be compulsory for councillors, but a good thing to be at. And it may actually help our meeting days a little bit more too. CEO or the deputy CEO and a district manager, or just a district manager, might come with us. So, right. There's your proposal. Moved Councillor Plum, seconded Councillor Gleeson. Those in favour? Carried 6-0. Can I have somebody move that we receive the economic development report, please? Councillor Plum, Councillor Arthur seconds. All in favour? Carried. Brett? Anything that wasn't raised last meeting? Doesn't look like none. Right, next one, 335 APTA. Let me move it. Just hold on, please. Discuss. Now, yesterday, we received an email from OQTA about 6 hours after our agenda went public. Hi Brett, I apologise for the delay in sending this update through to you. As you might be aware, Denise, our CEO, is travelling post our AGM and enjoyed visiting Overlanders Way last week. I realise we may have missed the meeting dates to revisit the Barcaldine Regional Council and OQTA agreement. Can you please send through days and times that work for your team's schedule? Thanks, Kelly Hensley, Admin Manager, OQTA. That was received at 4:44 PM and now are pending. So, yes, that resolution, they're now looking to address it, knowing that they should have already done so. Any more questions before we go to the resolution? Let me move that, please. Councillor Arthur, seconded Councillor Plum. Favour, 6-0. Annual report. Let's walk through it and then adopt today. You can tell the impact of COVID by looking at the photo on the third page, can't you?
Mr. Mayor, the annual report's made up of the written information that we're required to provide, the audited financial statements, the community financial report, and our assessment of our annual operation plan. councillors on page 9 and 10. That has, would like to confirm or be aware of what's been put in the report. Results about your earnings and how many meetings you attended the year.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the only query I do have is for the deputy mayor, it has no reference to vehicle.
Correct? Finance is most years of the me.
So how much we telephone lines is expensive. It may well be in there, Mr. Mayor, it just doesn't reference.
Where's that, sorry?
In the facilities
In the,
provided,
Oh, yeah, no,
remuneration
Is that-
as such.
it should have most.
Yeah, sorry, that's page 9.
Yep, no, it's added, Julie added.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, a couple of questions. The variance in remuneration there between, I can understand new councillors, people going from councillor to deputy mayor, just the two of us sitting councillors that were in there the whole last term. Why is there a difference in remuneration?
Were you missing for a meeting?
No?
Between me and you.
Yeah.
More than a month or two. You know, your general meetings were all present, special meetings all present.
Check that.
Can you check that for me? And Brett, also some parts of the document of my name spelled with one R, two R's.
We'll be on the same. We'll do it again.
Councillors, I don't think Gary Teens was ever given a council phone, so I think we can alter that, but he did also wear one of these shirts occasionally.
Maybe people can use it.
I bought one. Yeah. I think that was Harvey.
Then he has identified the error. So we'll get that fixed up. Councillors, on page 16 is the Community Financial Report. So this will go out in the Galilee Gazette, next edition. We're required to provide this to the community, which is supposedly an easier to read version of the financial statements. As you can see, page 16, the revenue, got the last 3 years showing that increase from 32 million to 35 to 36, and then a breakdown of where that money's come from. Then over the page is your expenditure, similar setup, and it's broken down into the functions, so whether it's governance, economy, infrastructure, environment and communities, showing where we spend the most money. Then, So that's in terms of operating expenses. Then we have our capital works. The breakdown on page 18 shows your buildings, and roads, and water and sewage, capital works.
Mr. Mayor, on that subject, the sewerage, the 1920 is $1,155. Previous year was 1.5 million, and then previous to that was 500,000. Is that true and accurate?
So, yeah, so it's because we don't do much. If we do sewage capital works, it's usually a project. So either like sewage treatment plant upgrade or sewage mains relining. So this is not your day-to-day operating expense. This is upgrades.
Yeah.
So we didn't do an upgrade to anything last year, in other words.
No, and it could be in work in progress as well.
Yeah,
So
okay.
if we'd started a project, it's still in work in progress. But so sewage tends to be erratic because you only do an upgrade every so many years. Sewage system. But even the water, you can see there, it varies 300 to 1.5 to 700. Just depends what works, capital works we've got on. Then the last page is your, just gives you your assets and liabilities and net worth and the ratios that we're required to target, which we know we're trying to get those changed. Page 21 is a breakdown of government grants. Gives you an indication of the various departments that provide us with our money. And then page 22 and 23 is the grants that we've provided to our community organisations over the 12 months.
And that does not count the Jack Communities Program money, that's just council money, is that right? Any more questions, councillors, on that area?
One final one, Mr. Mayor. Just clarification around senior management, page 8, the bottom of 7 and 8, well,
Yep.
mainly the top of 8. We have 5 positions, or had 5 positions in senior management for that period.
It means we had 5 positions that were in excess of $101,000 in remuneration.
So they only cover deputy CEO and our district managers. It's just that on the website, our chief engineer or works is also considered senior management, but it doesn't fall into those remuneration categories, is that? It doesn't give us a total number of senior management, it just gives it in remuneration.
Employees. That's just employees generally, they need not even be senior management, but allow, I suppose.
Well, it refers to paid senior management employees at 201A. Or is that just a technicality?
So we pay, we don't pay the chief engineer, we pay GA service.
Right. Yeah. No, I just noticed in some of the previous annual reports, some of those numbers are higher, but I would assume maybe that's people
There
there
was
for a period and then moved
because someone leaves halfway through the year and then
it's registered as still counts as a person in that position.
Yes.
Okay.
so you get extra.
Yeah. Happy with that.
And then the audited financial statements, which are the last section of the annual report, gives you an overview of our finances for the year. So in terms of our income, our profit and loss, our total income increased by 3.8% to 36 million. Our expenses were, income was 36.6 million. Our expenses were 36.9 million, so there's a net result or a deficit of 298,000 a year, which was huge improvement on the previous year. Probably on page 4 of the financials, the statement of cash flows, the critical figure that we look at is the net cash inflow from operating activities. And you can see there that there's a big improvement there. So the previous year was 297,000 surplus, increased to $3.7 million surplus. So that's pure cash generated from our day-to-day operations. That's the figure that we need to be as high as possible to fund our capital works or help fund. See under that the payments for property, plant and equipment, that's what we spent. $15.8 million on upgrades to our roads, water and sewerage. That's cash.
The cash through you, Mr. Mayor, the cash at the end of the financial year, we're at the 76. Is there any advance rent still in that figure?
Yes, it's 7.1 million.
7.1? Because previously that was about 11, wasn't it?
So it got spent.
Sorry?
A fair portion of it got spent.
Yeah, no, I understand that. So really, the bottom line we've got now is around the 10 mark. Very good.
Councillors, earlier we spoke about the key management personnel. On page 34 of the statements, this is the issue that auditors raised. So we will get all councillors just to check their forms and renew them. Because the figures that are used here are any transactions with any of the related parties that you put on that form. We just need to make sure that those forms cover all your related parties. That's the only purpose it's used for. It's not for register of interest or anything else. It's to fill in this section of the annual report and financial statements. And the auditors spend a lot of time on this. So if I use myself as an example, I put my children on there, my wife, Walsh Accounting, related party, so that any transaction the council does with those people has to be recorded. in the employment benefits, that includes obviously my wage, the transactions with Lodge Accounting would go, is recorded there as well. They auditors take it very seriously.
That's the part where, I know what you're saying there, Brett, but they now say too, when you're doing your ROI, that it has to be dependent children.
Yeah, that's different.
That's what I'm saying, it's totally different. It's nothing to do with registered interest. These are related parties.
It's a financial thing, it's not a local government. Well, are a related thing. So if there's an employee of council who is councillor or a senior executive's family member, their wages have to be disclosed as transactions with, because it's money flowing from the council's coffers to a person who's related to key management positions. It's to track the flow of money to prevent effectively fraud. That's its key job. Stop people who have the position to influence the distribution of money from improperly ensuring that money ends up with someone related to them. So those KMP forms, we had to fill them out before we had to get into the guts of this ROI stuff that we're doing now. We've filled these out as councillors since the second year of the last term when it was introduced.
What we do is on our computer system, box and you're related party. Anyone you've identified on that list, and the system picks up any entries, transactions we do today.
Whether it's wages, procurement, contract, ended up, that individual is picked up. So, another example, Councillor Arthur has used, as previously had to disclose material personal interest due to his employment at Rennie Enterprises. But that, if it wasn't for District Manager Lawrence's close family members as a part owner of that, Rennie Enterprises wouldn't appear in this section, because Rennie Enterprises is not related to. There's a formal relationship as employment, but it's not a relationship in this definition.
Okay.
So this is not a list of people whose council or senior staff MPIs. This is a register of money that's paid to people related to key management personnel. And the definition of our key management personnel is, as is outlined there, mayor, councillors, CEO, deputy CEO, engineer. It used to drill down to senior work supervisors, but I believe that's been refined up. That stops there. Right, further questions? Right, 337, tobacco regulation feedback. No, we did not. Sorry, thank you very much. Can I have somebody move that we adopt the Bark Baldwin Regional Council 2020 report? Beat you by a whisker. Thank you, Councillor Plum. No, definitely not. Councillor Plum. Seconded, Councillor Peoples. Those in favour? Opposed? Carried. Councillors, some of you probably are aware, and you look at a report like that, a huge amount of work goes into preparing the annual report. Obviously, some of it is compiled in the audit, which is also, as alluded to earlier, a substantial body of work. But my thanks on behalf of all of you to Brett and the team who compiled this and all the officers who've had to feed into it. It's a substantial legislative requirement for local government, probably second only to the audit. some councils do them very well and very informative. We probably are as good as most at it, so if not better than most. So well done to the staff for all of your efforts. 337. This knocked me for 6 when I saw this on Monday morning, but anyway. Early day. So somebody moved Councillor Plum. Seconder. Councillor Peoples. Debate. Those in favour? 6-0.
No, I wasn't here. Councillor Hicks.
I know he's not here, but you've still stumped me. Right?
That's just the sand area.
Yes.
So you can take
Yeah.
down the bank a
Good
bit.
point of the debate.
I think, Mr Mayor, we do have a lot of complaints at the showgrounds with smokers in various areas. And I think we've been given the opportunity by the government to take it and designate a smoke-free area.
Acting CEO, I'm tested, you've already got it through 6-0. Thank you, lucky stars, and run with it. They always need to expand.
So obviously that'll have to be signed.
It's got to be adopted first.
Yeah.
So we've requested it, it doesn't mean that it'll be endorsed. When you look at the only other 5 in the state that are 6, I'd suggest our chances are not very high. Three, 8. I'd like to invite discussion, councillors, please. You have been distributed a map after Morning said
To assist to councillors in understanding. So there is a one. In the agenda.
Can I just be blunt and tell them what is happening? What it would be, councillors, the rate, the cents in the dollar is the reason why. It's 90 cents in the dollar in Witten, 73.82 in Barkle. I would suggest it's pure economics.
Can you explain the map a little bit more for me? What are you trying to tell us there, please?
So the pink in Royalton is the properties that wish to move.
Yeah.
And the black lines are the boundaries. So to the north, where Bundella is, to the north of Royalton, is Flinders Shire. Obviously, Royalton's in the Witten Shire. And then if you come back to the Bibble boundary, Bibble, Preston, Inverness, Dotswood, that's the Barkle, that's where the 3 shires meet.
But they're here, and this is us down here.
Correct.
So where do they want the boundary? Do they want to take these places too?
Well, that's why the resolution calls for a meeting with them to discuss the issues, because we don't really know either.
We don't know. Oh, yeah, we don't come down here, but we take these people here too, yeah.
To agree to their request, you would have to take all the properties in that area. Or else you'd create an island.
Well, we used to do this road here. I don't know if we still do, Rick, that road goes through to Malverna, up to Caulfield. We used to do the maintenance on some of this road just through our boundary for the Witten Shire. I don't know if we still do.
Councillors, I see no harm in the resolution.
I think the only progress that we haven't made with both Witten Shire and the landholders.
Remove that, please. Peoples, seconded. Gleeson, those in favour? Carried. 341. Move we receive the report, please. Move Councillor Plum, seconded. Councillor Peebles? Those in favour? Carried. 6-0. Greg, is there anything you'd like to direct our attention to here right before I open for questions?
Computer's a little bit slow, I'll catch up. Not really.
Yes.
The community. Okay. No, nothing really direct.
Community Services Business Unit, the first report has us projected to overall, so that's the summary report of finances, yep. Our overall projected annual performance is a deficit of 192,000. So is the way I interpret that. Great. Now, year-to-date actual profit is 102, but we're still projecting a turnaround of loss of 192, am I right? And that's through predominantly administrative overheads.
Correct.
Can we perhaps make a note to review that after the 6 months is finished? And have a clearer report around, because is there going to be some back-ended administrative overheads because we're 5 months through, no we're not, sorry, that's to the 31st of October, we're 3 months through, yeah, we're on track, so
We're 4 months through.
1 July to 30 on October. Yeah, 4 months, sorry. Right. We'll put it on notice and just take us and have a look at that. Yep. Further questions on CHSP or NDIS? Three, 4, 2, the planning and development report. We received that report. Moved Councillor Plum, seconded Councillor Rogers. Those in favour? Carried. 6-0. Greg, anything you'd like to draw our attention to?
I'll take it as read.
Take it as read. Councillors, the first development assessment that you're referring to is the one that we've just agreed for a partial fee waiving. No further questions? 343. Sorry, Councillor Plum.
Mayor, there was a question that I was going to ask. Noticed a couple of pools going in here. How do they get on for filling those pools? Is there a special rate for water flows or was it going?
No. That's just in their annual allocation. A lot of water. Fill a pool. Oh, it's better big pool is, but
So is that monitored? Is this so that they don't get back empty?
sorry, maybe there is contrary advice.
Mr Mayor, they buy bulk water to fill those pools.
Right.
Yeah. So they pay us for the water, they paid the council to buy bulk water to fill it. And it didn't take that big an amount, it wasn't a big quantity enough. So no, it didn't go out of the allocation of the householders.
That's what a household would use in a garden. Pool is not very much.
I just thought that having it open that they don't.
Sorry, just a bit, sorry, Councillor, it's how much, Rick?
About 30 to 50,000 litres for a normal backyard pool.
Okay. Councillor Plum.
I just thought that, having Avon started to water, would they fill it and empty it?
Not if they respect their money, because the value of what the water is nothing compared to the damage they're doing to their pool by emptying it,
Yeah, but I'm just saying.
as we know. 343, Workplace Health and Safety Report. Mark, somebody move we receive that report. Councillor Peoples, seconder. Councillor Plum. Seconder, sorry.
The only thing I'd say, Mr. Mayor, is that there has been an improvement.
Very good. I note the comment about the investigation and appropriate corrective measures implemented to reduce risk, so that's good. Right, 344. Before I call for this, I do believe I have one. You out to council people? That's what they indicated. Can none of you please leave? Move down to a quorum. Just. We're pointing out the state of the chamber shortly. Can I have somebody move that we receive the project progress report? Councillor Gleeson, seconder. Councillor Plum. Questions? Bear with me. I'll have to get this in the can. Black and white, I won't cut it. So, councillors, if you remember from the last meeting, we indicated these would be colour coded. Green means complete and over budget. Sorry, under budget. Red means complete and under budget. Correct. So the trades, the plant stuff's not something we can do anything about. Let's look at, I think most of it is plant.
Mr. Mayor, do they basically cancel themselves out, the ups and downs, or
Well, given there's some
respect to the plan?
big ups
Yeah, and there's
and the downs are pretty little in comparison, aren't they?
comparison, yeah.
So when we,
Can I just check that this can't be right? Prado trade. Actual cost 60. Oh, righto. You guys must have got a good trade. $8,000. Is that right? Trade 6204.
Bit of plant.
So I'm assuming that'll be Melinda's car because she's transitioning into a smaller, cheaper car. Is that right? So her trade, I reckon there was about 32,000 for it. So did they only have to put an extra 16 with it to get the RAV? Is that what that works out? That makes sense.
trade's pretty good on the Prados.
So it's either that one or Jenny, was yours at what's your plant number?
6252, Mr. Mayor, which is the
Yep.
Parado for a Parado.
And if you look, there's also an exceptionally good trade balance pick up there.
Yeah.
I would suggest if those figures work out, they will be more than picked up and it positively to be a massive
Yes.
return.
So when we're working with the officers, quite often, they'll come in and say, well, this truck or whatever plant is 10,000 over, but we can save if we do something with another piece. Do a trade-off. I don't think there's no issues with planning in terms of over.
No, I think the contrary. I think the councillors are saying it's the reverse. It's way under expenditure. Major savings. Just a slight overspend, or like it is slight relatively, on Breakspear Street pathway. Those who haven't been to Alfred, crew's done a good job there, Damien and Rick. Very good. The red box for the rec park, is that on the basis of the whole spend?
That needs to be adjusted. Because
That's total.
that's not the new money.
No.
400,000 is new money. What was actually previously, so we need to
Tidy that up. Questions, councillors, on any of these projects? All right, no more questions?
Thanks, Dame.
351. All right, for the other councillors to return. Can I have somebody move that we receive the financial report, please? Councillor Gleeson, seconded Councillor Plum. Those in favour? 6-0. Questions on finance?
There's a few timing issues there in relation to capital revenues receiving it earlier than expected, and also our worst flood damage is a little bit behind the claims, so they're the major debt variances. And we've put in depreciation, which is an estimate until we reconcile what system we're going to use with the methodology.
Pass the check on. Cash went up. Is that because of the receipt of, we received our 30% deposit of the 2020 event already? Yes. So that's the discrepancy you just referred to with capital. Thank you. That been quarantined like the earlier amount was? It's in a separate. Yeah. So councillor, what I'm referring to there, councillors, sorry, what I'm referring to there is the quarantining of that is that money's received purely for the purposes of flood damage construction. It's kept separate and then claimed then, however it's handled internally, as claims are approved, the money's transferred out of that holding account into our was going to say operating, that's probably not the correct terminology, Jenny, but into our main. And I'm not even sure, is it a separate bank account or is it just a separate reporting?
It's a separate bank.
It's a separate bank account, so there's a transactional basis to withdraw that once the claims are approved, which ensures we're not falsely claiming Rick for work that in case URA don't approve. Try 361, please. Or have we got, did I ask for a question?
Oh.
361. Works report, moved Councillor Plum, seconded Councillor Gleeson. I'm not doing goal 3 yet, so these two councillors can stay. Rick, have you got anything you'd like to lead us through other than goal 3?
Not particularly, Mr Mayor, it's pretty vanilla.
Pretty detailed briefing at the roads meeting yesterday. Goal 3, see you as councillors. Sorry. All right, anything in goal 3 you'd like to lead us through?
I think it's all fairly explanatory, Mr Mayor. It's certainly infrastructure part of our program is a work in progress at the moment, some other projects coming on.
Really, Mr Mayor, Rick, pretty positive reaction from the community with regards to fixing the IGA for park. People have been forward and I think it's great.
The funding application for the regional airport upgrades that you've submitted, when's the decision likely on that, do you know?
Mr Mayor, they sent us a time frame yesterday, I believe. I think it's February.
For the decision?
Decision February.
So it's potential that it may not need to be deferred in that case? Oh, correct. Depending on then after you, if you get it, when you can schedule someone to do it. And we are proceeding to tender on the treatment plant stuff?
Yes, Mr Mayor, we had a meeting with Water and Carbon Group yesterday, their representative, and working out a way clear to be able to get the certain parts of that required prior to June 30 next year.
Okay. Right. Councillor Gleeson.
Mr Mayor, through the environmental buffer and waste transfer station, what are we up to there, if you don't mind?
That's the new dump.
Yep,
Yeah.
so the new dump facility, at the moment we've got a hole in the ground and the platform for where people will offload their rubbish. So now we've got to brush that up and seal it. We've got skip bins that we need to place there. We need to dress up the actual pit itself. Put a sludge pump in that will pump any of the stuff out of the middle of it. There's a tank or a pit to go in and pump that in just so it can evaporate. So there's a number of other things that we need to signage, all the rest of it. So all ancillary type stuff.
When would the likelihood of, is there a likelihood date of when that should be completed?
I'm pushing to get it done by the end of this financial year. So hopefully in play second half for next year.
We didn't have a bit of information for people at the community forum so they understand how it's going to work and what they'll do, how they physically will go about dumping there. Now that may not be quite ready, but if it is, we'd like to give you some heads up about the change in procedure.
Thank you.
Councillor Arthur? Councillor Plum?
The only thing is, when talking about that, is there going to be an allocated area so that anyone that takes trees out there, they can be chopped up and mulched and people
Yes.
can come and...
Through you, Mr Mayor, there's definitely a green waste area as part of that. The other thing that we're looking into is we had a meeting with a company going back a few months ago about access into our dumps. So so that you don't have to man the dump. There's actually a swipe card type system to get in and out. You can give to your local residents, and also then control some of the illegal dumping that we may be having on the eastern end of our shire because of the levy. So the issue with the levy being brought in over the Great Divide is that it's actually now cheaper for them to dump their regulated waste, to cart it and dump it at Alpha, than it is for them to pay the levy. There's those sort of issues as well. So we're looking at some sort of system where we can control entries.
And we've also received a request about potential for a charitable organisation to take goods rather than going into landfill as well.
There'll be some sort of, like, they're exploring some sort of facility, yes.
Or recyclables draft, for the drafting of rubbish.
Not so much, yes, recyclable, but not bottles and cans, more op shop type stuff.
Yeah.
Like furniture that might be okay, but it's just not needed. So someone's upgraded their dining room table and they can put it there and it can go to the op shop type facility.
Like if they're old toys or things like that. Like the Emerald Transfer Station. Emerald Transfer Station, there's a little shop. There's like a little shop there, you can go and buy a rubbing down lawnmower or a grub or a table or whatever. Yeah. Trash and shoe. Yeah. So in basically the Endeavour Foundation has one at every transfer station. Yeah. So that is the option down the track, and for the future dump, those sort of things are options.
Well, not down the track, it's like if it's not by the end of this financial year, it'll be before the end of the next calendar year at the very latest, yeah. We've just got to stop the dump burning here. I'm still worried that the new one could get, but it's more regulatable and controllable. And
yes, Mr. Mayor, people can't access the pit when you're done. That's only the skip pins they can access.
Which if they light them on fire, it's probably technically not a breach of DES then, it's probably a breach of all sorts of fire codes.
Des would argue that, Mr. Mayor.
It's unless we have landfills on fire. And on heart.
Be really good because it must be distressing for people that are living close here for maybe 25 kilometres out there and turn around and say, oh, the dump's on fire again today. Must be very distressing in here. Thank you.
Anything further? Thanks, Melinda. Gary's on the back. Gary, go the back way. Yeah. Keep going. Jenny, what time? 12:30. Something moved that we received Damien's report. Thank you, Councillor Gleeson, seconded Councillor Plum. Damien, would you like to walk us through anything here?
Mr. Mayor, I just want to go through, just with the rural aid, I just want to give everyone an update on the actual projects that they're currently doing in the town. So in Settlers Park, they've been doing things as community raised garden structures. So, and they've also gone down the purchase of a 6-hole Frisbee golf is going to go in, which has been one of the local chaplaincies one he's asked about for a while. So as part of the committee, that's one of the things Rural Aid are going to be buying. They've also doing work at the local museum down the main street. They're going through categorising everything there and giving them a hand with cleaning. Also painting all the garden picnic settings and all the garden containers down the main street as well. Just putting in the bright colour that's sort of continued on from the bright pots that we've got there. The other things they're working on is the local golf club. They're giving them they're painting the rest of the building there on the outside, as well as designing a shade structure made out of steel there at that building as well. The other things they've been doing, they've been also incorporating with a lot of the local community groups as far as getting them to do the meals and that of a night time as well, but just also working with any of the local groups, as in the pottery shed, the men's shed, and also staying with the local businesses in town. So they've got 24 volunteers there, and they've actually been, I think they've got most of the caravan park booked out as well, and down at the local pub as well in town. So it's been really well received with a lot of the community members, and they're there for the week, which has been really good for our local community. So, and it's made a bit of a difference just in boost of, I guess, lifting the spirits as we're leading into Christmas time as well down there. So, and that will be a 5-year, another 4 years of funding that will come through. And there'll be opportunity then to put money towards other things that are agreed on by the community there.
Thank you, Damien. Anything further?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Councillors? Councillors, we'll do this next report and then I want to adjourn. We're walking down to lunch at 12:30 anyway, so I need to adjourn because I need to discuss something with the CEO and acting CEO briefly before lunch. 372 Cemetery Road Alpha to Zora Cross Road was run as a competition. The local school and the Tourism Association coordinated that, and supporting material right there. Or why? Any councillor comment?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
The officer's recommendation is for Zora Cross.
Yep, that was the selected win that was selected as the winning place. So the other two will be used for there's 3 streets that need naming in Alpha, they just haven't come to you today. So Rogers and Graves will go to the other 2.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, yeah, that was selected by the Alpha Tourism organisation that were running that competition. Yes.
So they looked at how the case that people built for it, the reasons why they with the school.
That's fine. I'm happy to go with their recommendation. I'm pleased we're going to give Rogers something down the track because I like some of his quotes.
The Graves will get a run as well. Somebody happy to move that? Move to Councillor Peoples, seconded to Councillor Arthur. Those in favour? No, I'll keep going because I reckon we're going to. Have we got some left? No, we've got to keep going. I need to discuss, so I will adjourn the meeting, please. 12:21.